So, hello everyone. And I'm like kind of like don't even know which camera I should be looking at. So, all right. Welcome to the D1011 podcast. This is Lark.
Kimberly.
That's right. And this is the first edition of what we hope is, well, what we know will be a new long-running podcast. And actually, today we actually have Norm. And I always want to say Norm Hauser. That's not.
You could say Norm Peterson too.
Norman Schwartz. Yeah, exactly. And Norm is a transit advocate, a community activist, a person that is. Can we say you're in Bloomfield?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
He's a Bloomfield Halcyon Park resident, and he gives out a lot of really great information to the community in regards to transportation, the environment, and just like information. There are a lot of things that we don't really know how government works, and even like in regards to having open government, public policy, like not like public policy, but knowing public information, knowing how to contact people. Essentially, a power map. I feel like we have to ask Norm about power maps because I'm pretty sure you know about that. But one of the things that we just had was we had a winter storm.
Mm-hmm.
We had a winter storm, and I noticed that you have a segment that you share a thing called Norm's Notes.
Yes.
Why did you start writing Norm's Notes? I know that was kind of like a little bit.
That's
off.
okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. So Norm's Notes. So I live not too far, away from Lark in Halcyon. I live on the border of Halcyon Park. I live on a street on a avenue called Berkeley Avenue. And long story short, I started Norm's Notes because in our town, the council minutes come out late on a Friday afternoon, like 4 p.m., 4:15, 3 o'clock, around there. And for a meeting that takes place on Monday evening, the town council meetings. And Norm's Notes, this is probably the one that I put up recently, was probably like the 10th or 11th Norm's Notes. It's just a letter that I sent to council members and the township administrator and the township clerk. And it bullets out all of the issues that I think are important in an executive summary format. And it lists questions and concerns that I have across the board for the agenda. Because when I show up to council meetings, I only get 5 minutes. And typically those 5 minutes are really molded by what the conversation is and the temperature of the room. Mm-hmm. So if somebody is really riled up before me, I tend to try to, acknowledge them and then either build on their comments in a calmer way or take the conversation in a different direction. There's no way that I can go over all of the content that's in a Norm's Note during public comment.
Sure.
And it's broad ranging because there's so many things. Let's look at the council meeting that happened this past Monday, February 9th. They were talking about 3 redevelopment projects. They were talking about removing a bus stop. They were talking about standing up and creating a clergy council, a council of clergy members to help OEM, and that's kind of normal. It's normal. It's normal for towns to have, clergy that come together. There was so much content. So much content. That I needed to put it in a Norm's Note. So that's what I typically like to do. And I try to send them to council members no later than early Sunday afternoon so that they have time to read it, because I think that they focus Sunday afternoon on preparing for the Monday evening meeting.
Okay. And, with that, I know one of the challenges that people were talking about during this past meeting, and this is whether it was this East Orange, Montclair, everywhere, we were talking about the snowstorm.
Yep.
If you're looking outside the window of the podcast studio that we are filming at right now, there's still snow on the ground. Key pedestrian routes along Testing Park in Essex County, especially in Bloomfield, East Orange, remained icy for weeks.
Yep.
Especially bus stops, places where you walk, like you walk your dog, and
yes.
I actually there was a special vote. In District 11, there was a special vote. And I walked from my house to the voting place, and I almost fell. I had to like climb over snow. And I guess it's kind of like, as someone who is a transit advocate, like, and you were talking about the snow removal and like helping people remove the snow, like you're like some kind of cooperative thing to help people remove things from the snow.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that, like the snow removal and like your thoughts on that and how we can make that better?
Sure. It needs to be prioritized, plain and simple. There are easy ways. Snow happens. Like we're looking outside of the studio over here right now, and the sidewalk is clear, 4 feet of sidewalk, which is perfect. But there's still an amount of snow between the sidewalk and the curb line, by and large. And right now, it's covering parking meters and all of that. I think that it's a matter of prioritizing and including crosswalks and including bus stops into the snow removal operations. And this is not only us. It's New York City is struggling mightily. And they have many more resources.
I work in Patterson in Main Street.
Yep.
Main Street is like 2 lanes going opposite directions, then the middle turning lane.
Yep.
Right now, Main Street in Patterson is only the middle turning lane.
Yeah.
Like it's still like snow covered with snow everywhere.
Yeah. It's right. Yeah, absolutely. So there's still operations happening, but what needs to happen is a wholesale baking of key pedestrian infrastructure into snow removal operations. So what does that mean operationally? We know where the school crossing guards are. Every community knows where the school crossing guards are. Typically, what happens, after a snow event is that school is shut down for a day or two. So it gives some time for shoveling to happen here in Bloomfield. I know there are about 50 crossing guard posts that they call. And so there are 50 locations that we already know are important crosswalks to clear. So that's number one. Number two, we also know that there are major bus stop hubs all over the place, but I'm going to focus here on Bloomfield because it's what I know. We're on Bloomfield Avenue. There's a major bus stop hub, maybe about a block and a half away, right in front of Watts-Essing Park. And the 11, the 28, the 29, the 27, the 72, 5 buses at least that I know of, and the GO 28, maybe 5 or 6 buses, use that as a primary stop. And you see people there all the time. There's only a little narrow width cleaned out.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good, because guess what? When you go down further, a block to walk from the bus stop to this location, it's about a block and a half, 2-block walk. There's a stretch of 200 feet that has not been cleared yet. It is encased in ice. And here's, and there's a little triangle of land between the IHOP and the bus stop. And that triangle of land is owned by Essex County. The Essex County Parks Department is responsible for that piece of land. The Essex County Parks Department, and listen, I understand it's a complex operation.
Yeah.
So they have contracted out the responsibility for cleaning off sidewalks to a company called J.J. Abrams. And J.J. Abrams has not taken care of that little stretch of sidewalk. And it's been what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
3 weeks now.
Since the snowstorm?
Yeah.
And so bus riders and pedestrians are struggling to get from the bus stop to here in that 200-foot stretch. And what does that mean? That means that they have one of 2 options: walk all the way around, cross the street, walk across the street, or walk in the gutter facing traffic here on 4-lane Bloomfield Avenue. And that's unacceptable. So it comes down to building snow removal, collaborating to identify high traffic bus stops, collaborating to identify crosswalks, and then building a plan around that. And then the other thing that I think of is policy, education, and enforcement. And policy, the snow removal ordinance here, and again, compare here in Bloomfield, says you need to clear off your sidewalks. Now, there's no language around curb cut. There's no language about plow line, just sidewalks. So if I live on a corner property and I clear my sidewalk, curving, that's clean. I don't need to worry, according to the ordinance. Now, here's the fun thing. The definition of sidewalk is different, or the definition of sidewalk is nuanced in that context.
Mhm.
So a sidewalk, they say, well, it extends to the curb. There just needs to be better education, and then policy, education, and enforcement. So education around what you need to do. Jersey City has, they define what they call a plow line. So it's like you shovel up to the plow line, because you're not expected to shovel, the 100 pounds of snow.
Yeah, but like, so this is like, I guess, is there a way that all of like we have Bloomfield, we have Montclair, we have East Orange. Well, even when you think about District 11,
Mm-hmm.
all of these cities in District 10, we have a lot of people who are seniors who literally cannot they can't do the snow. They can't do the plowing of the snow. We have disabled people who can't do that, but they own houses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there is a way that we can figure out a way in order for this to be a county-wide, some kind of ordinance that is a system rather than a hope, you know what I mean? Like an individual thing, because when you depend on the individual, sometimes that's not going to work.
Right.
So what do you think?
It also like, people will, like, a disabled person will start to incur fines and things like that if their sidewalk is not cleared properly, when they might not even have a way to go about doing it themselves. And it all falls again back to personal responsibility.
Yeah. Let me think about that for a second. I think that the system, the good news is that when a ticket is written, my understanding is that when a ticket is written for lack of snow removal, people have 10 days to cure it, to make it right. I don't know whether that's 10 business days or calendar days. Let's assume calendar days. So there is the opportunity, for people to make things right. It's tough. It's a challenging problem. And I think of my own block. We have 2 seniors that live right next to each other.
Yeah.
I'm the only one with a 2-stage snow blower, That's on my side of the street. Across the street, there are 3 more seniors further down, and not everybody knows them. And so not everybody knows if you're somebody who owns a home versus a resident who happens to rent. That's a different dynamic in lots of ways. So I think it's neighborhood by neighborhood identifying seniors. I think there needs to be a structure within towns and their senior centers to say, look, if you're a senior, register with us so that we know that we can, you might need help, or we can keep an eye. I think it also comes down a little bit to personal responsibility in terms of having people who know that they can't shovel out their sidewalk to reach out to neighbors who can. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for snowmatch.org. That is the website that I created back in 2021 when somebody said, oh, kids don't shovel snow anymore. We're getting 20 inches. And there's no way that you can do. In a matter of like an afternoon, I built a website, a Google site, got the domain name. And what it is it's a website where people fill out a form, whether they need shoveling, or if they are a shoveler offering services. And then I plot everything out on a Google map. And I just say, you contact each other, use the map. It's your responsibility to connect, because I can't take that responsibility.
Yeah.
And there are other apps too.
No, but that's really
That's
good.
a great idea.
I mean, that's actually a great idea. I didn't actually, you know what? I didn't realize that was you.
Oh, really?
I thought it was like, I don't know. I thought it was a city or something. I mean, I knew you were sharing it, and I knew you were kind of like, oh, this is important, but I didn't really realize it was you, because it's actually a really good service. And I think this is something, it's important. But I also think about our apartments, our people who are renters, and the many challenges that they have. And possibly landlords should probably be looking at your snow match also. Like maybe, I mean, I don't really know, but like landlords could be doing this. Like
anybody who needs services, just sign up and we know, I know of a property on my block that is owned by an investor, and they didn't shovel their sidewalks really well. It's a reality. It's a reality.
No, but I mean, I think this whole like this petite bourgeoisie, these wannabe capitalists that have this property and they don't take care of them. But that's a different topic.
Yes,
But
exactly. But that's when riled up neighbors call them out. Or tenants call them out too. Anyway, put that aside.
So what I think is you have brought up some really good points. And what are like the final words that you would like to, if people kind of want, to what's some advice you would give to city council people, to politicians? What advice would you give to them? What are for the future? Like if you say you were running for office one day, and like this, because this is also part of the climate crisis. This is such a big issue because snow becomes weird because of the climate crisis, but snow is a thing. So what advice would you give to people if you were a politician, you were running for office? What advice would you give, or what would you say you would do? What would you do differently, or just what final words you want to leave us with?
As an advocate, it takes creativity and imagination of what could be and what could be better. And I think that anyone, it doesn't matter if you're a politician, whether you're an elected official, whether you're somebody who's wanting to be elected, whatever, spend an afternoon or an evening, spend at least like a 4-hour block walking your neighborhood, walking your district, taking the buses, and experiencing on foot your town. And you were talking about, I walk my dog a lot. Yes. And we like to go on what I call sniffaries. So we get in the car and we go on sniffaries. My sniffari this week was Watsessing Park. And they did a great job. They did a solid job. They did it. 80% of the park is clear. The sidewalks by and large are fantastic. Yeah. That 20% are the access points to the park. So from, we started our walk at Mayolas and Glenwood, and there's a little path that goes from Glenwood Avenue into the park that hasn't been shoveled yet. Yeah. I told you about the spot over here. Yeah. My favorite story out of this entire snowstorm, and by the way, this snowstorm, you're right, climate change is real. This snowstorm was very intense because it was a lot of icy snow and followed by a hard freeze that has kind of endured for a few weeks. So it hasn't melted as it typically does. My favorite story, there's a bus stop at the intersection of Grove and Bloomfield Avenue. It's behind the Wendy's there on Bloomfield Avenue, close to the light rail station. It's the 90 bus stop. I visited there last week, Tuesday. Anyway, a while ago, or shortly, a week after the storm, I went to visit. Riders were standing on top of 2 feet of snow. The sidewalk of that property, the back of the Wendy's, had not been cleared at all. Wow. So what do? I Google corporate social responsibility for Wendy's. Yeah. I find the corporate social responsibility officer for Wendy's. I email her. She went to Seton Hall Law School. Oh, wow. And she spent time at Mars in Newark and Hackettstown. So she's familiar with New Jersey. So, I wrote her and I said, good corporate social responsibility starts with being a good neighbor. And I think that applies to anyone. Anyway, long story short, 2 or 3 days later, that bus stop was cleaned down to the sidewalk and there was a large swath that was all set to go. That was like 3 days later. I don't know whether it was my email. I don't know whether it was the fines and the tickets that they were issued by the township. I don't care how it happened, but it did. And I think that awareness of, once you start to see inequities, you can't unsee them. Yes. Once you start to see how other people are treated and what other people have to struggle with, and even last night, long story short, that's the bottom line. You have to walk and ride the bus and experience what it is like to be a pedestrian or a transit rider. And that's the message that I would send to any official, any person who wants to change their perspective. And that would change how they act, how they plan, how they imagine what could be.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Norm. Thank you for
Yeah,
coming by, and we appreciate
absolutely.
you being on our first show.
Yeah,
you
certainly.
so
Thanks
much.
for having me. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to D1011. It's Lark.
And Kimberly.
That's right. You know, I gotta come with a different tagline other than that's right, but that's okay. Anyway, we had an election that was pretty exciting.
It was
Pretty
very
exciting. District 11. And that's kind of what the show is after, District 10, District 11. And before we kind of go into the Mejia election, I want to talk a little bit about District 10 and District 11. As I've always talked about often, New Jersey is all urban. Okay, 95% urban, except for the part that Kimberly grew up in.
Yep.
That's literally the only rural part of New Jersey is where Kimberly is from. So the rest of you who are like, I'm in suburban, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're not. 95%.
You live in an urban environment.
You live in an urban environment. It's okay. It's okay. You'll be all right. But what things are geographically and what things are culturally are often different things.
Yes.
Now, at the recent election, Mejia won. And a lot of the New Jersey press was like, that's because she's Latina and she speaks Spanish and she went to all the Latinos and that's why she won. And I was like, that's an interesting take.
That's a really wild take.
That take is wild as hell.
That is a really wild
so
take.
I decided to take some time to literally look at the demographics of District 10 and District 11 because I was like, well, I didn't really know. Okay, so District 10, that's my district. That's where Kimberly lives. They call it the urban district, which is interesting because it is urban, but their urban, I think, means slightly something different. Anyway,
I think you might be right.
I think they have a different. Anyway, so District 10 is 48% Black, 21%, but by Black we mean African American because Latino can also be Black or white or Asian. 21% Latino, 19% white, and 6% Asian. And they say it's 100% urban, which I gotta let it go. And they have majority Black, Newark anchored. So that's kind of like one of the descriptions. District 11, that's where I live, is 61% white, 11% Asian, 6% Black, and 16% Latino. Okay, so, and then they kind of go affluent, suburban. We're
a mile, like 1.2 miles apart.
And you're in urban New Jersey,
Yep.
and I'm in suburban New Jersey.
Yes.
I don't understand that because they look the same to me, except for certain things, which you know what those things are, but they look kind of the same to me. And in regards to me as a political economist, as an urban critic, as an urbanist, the definition of urban applies to both suburban, District 11, and urban New Jersey. But anyway, so with that 16.5% Hispanic population, that's what took her to victory, apparently, to the white men at New Jersey Globe, NewJersey.com, because all those people speak Spanish, and apparently nobody else voted. Like the 61% of white people
No, of course not.
They didn't vote.
No.
And I guess I could call myself as part of the 11% Asian and the 6% Black. I mean, I'm both, so I can be part of both of that team. I guess I didn't matter.
It was your vote.
It was
your vote.
It was my vote. But they were just like, it was those Latinos and women. That's what brought her to victory. Not the 60. I thought this was an affluent neighborhood. Anyway.
And this was also our governor's district. This is Mikey Sherrill's former district
In Montclair.
Yes.
And it's a fancy part of Montclair. It's not even okay, just so you guys know, Montclair is broken into several parts. It's South Montclair, which is mainly African American, but if you say that, they get real mad. They're like, no, there's no south part of Montclair. It's the same. but they do. Then there's District 11, which is like the kind of like Upper Montclair,
Okay.
and that's where Stephen Colbert lives.
Oh.
So I'm in the same district as Stephen Colbert.
Oh, that's fancy.
Maybe he'll let me on the show one day. He'll let us both on the show.
He should listen to our podcast.
He should. He should. He's listening to our podcast because we are as funny as him.
Yes.
And so why do you think Mejia won? What do you think? What do you think?
I think that what we've seen happening with the administration of the federal government within the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but also since what has happened on October 7th in Gaza. And Mejia came out very progressive and stated she was one of the only people to state that, yes, what was happening in Gaza is in fact a genocide.
Mm-hmm.
She's come out very vocally against ICE. And I think that New Jersey voters, especially progressive voters and liberal voters, are seeing what's happening in the rest of the nation with ICE in Minneapolis, in Portland, in Los Angeles, and they do not want that to happen here. I think also that the tide is turning against AIPAC in Israel,
mm-hmm.
and people don't want AIPAC-backed progressive candidates anymore.
And this is how Tom lost. Actually, I'm just, so we got a phone call from, I have to say this. I actually didn't get a phone call. My white husband did.
I didn't get any phone calls, but I wasn't voting this time.
You weren't voting, but yes, essentially said, Tom was a bad guy or something like that, and he did something. He was part of ICE. Anyway, it turned out AIPAC was making a phone call to help someone. Anyway, it backfired. This is what the idea is. The reason is a lot of people said Mejia won not because of any skill. Because of an accident. They're like, we should have ranked choice voting now. I was like, wow, we've wanted ranked choice voting for years. But now that the affluent suburban district has a woman who is progressive, they keep saying she's a person of color. They keep bringing that up. She lives from Glen Ridge. And her husband's also black. So you want to say all these things. You're like, how did she win? We're typically racist.
She had a good campaign.
Yeah. Maybe even though the media in New Jersey might be biased, maybe the community of New Jersey isn't as biased as they say.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a turn. I think I want to be really positive. I met some really great people in New Jersey, regardless of their cultural background, regardless of their gender, regardless of we're having an ideological shift here. I think
so too. I think
we're sick of like the traditional, politics as usual, or they call it the machine, right? They call it the machine. We've gotten rid of the line. In New Jersey, you have a thing called the line. And apparently, if you are a person that is part of like a more popular political party, I guess they have different political camps. Like the Democratic Party have the Democratic Club of this, that, and the other. And and depending on that, it used to be on the line. People who were part of a more popular party would be at the top of the line. But now it's like this random thing. I could be getting that wrong, but I know the line wasn't important. Go ahead.
I think that she represents a changing political landscape. Like we're looking at, like, we'll use Minnesota as an example. So Minnesota, we're seeing a lot of, typically like middle of the road, like maybe progressive, but maybe not so much, liberals who are radicalizing rapidly because of what they're seeing happen to their friends and neighbors. And that is not just isolated in Minnesota. That's happening all over the place. There are more liberals nowadays that are being like, yeah, let's get the Molotovs lined up than I have seen from more radical leftist people in the past, So it is, I think it definitely represents a changing political landscape in the country, not only New Jersey, but in the country.
Yeah. And I think that the thing that is really, really important also is that I think that this politics, I was reading this thing about AOC. And I think it was I want to say it was in Current Affairs. And she was like, what we are now collating around is the whole idea of the working class solidarity. And that's something that, we really weren't talking about before.
No.
And I think that for a lot of people, what they wanted to happen, I'm trying somewhere here, I'm so sorry. What they wanted really to happen was to have it where we would break people down by racial groups, we would break people down by demographic, we would break people down by socioeconomic class. But now we realize it's the wealthy, it's the oligarchs against all of the rest of us.
Yes.
And this is something I think that we really weren't, I don't think we were really kind of aware of, and something we weren't really thinking about. I'm going to say, so, I think also too, I know that some people are saying this is the inflation, the pricing, how AI is working is actually impacting people's standard of living.
Absolutely.
But I also too, I think while it's important, people do care about their standard of living, I think it's actually hurtful to see what's happening to these children, what is happening to people who are working hard, people who are our neighbors. These are things that, we've never seen before and I know people are kind of like, well, the United States has always been fascist. Look,
we know that.
we get that. It's still not something we want to see.
Yes.
It's still not, the thing is that the way the United States is set up, and this is something why they like the whole idea of suburban, of single family homes, of people living by themselves. But, we almost kind of talked about that with Norm in our earlier, because they're like, oh, a lot of people don't know their neighbors. They don't know who people are. And this is set up, this is part of the system. It's set up this way so you can oppress people if people don't know who they are. But now it's kind of like their eyes are getting open and they're seeing like, wow, you're doing this in front of my face.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was happening. And we can't go I know people are kind of like, well, you should have known. No, how would you know? How would you know?
A lot of people are unaffected. That's the thing, is that a lot of people are very unaffected by things that affect marginalized people. So there are things that are very easy for your middle class white guy to completely ignore because it's not in front of his face and there's no reason for him to look into it. It's not even that he's necessarily ignoring it, but they're literally just ignorant of the existence of that happening.
Yeah, you can't question about something that you just don't even know is happening.
Yeah.
And our education system and our media, think about it. Most of our media is owned by the same people. Yep. We're doing something kind of wild right now by doing this local media and having this conversation. And I think that what we really want to do here with D1011 is to challenge the idea of white space, challenge the idea of urban Black space, challenge this idea that we should be breaking down in regards to racialized terms, in regards to terms that are just set up to separate. People often, a lot of people who are on the left will say race is a distraction. Well, you know what else is a distraction? Zip code. Yes. Zip codes is a huge distraction.
Yes.
This whole like suburban versus urban, that's also a distraction that we rarely talk about. And with that, while we're excited about Mejia, I want to jump to District 10, your neighborhood. I have to say, I used to be very jealous because LaMonica MacGyver was your congressperson, who I think is just amazing, but she's facing 3 felony charges.
Facing 3 felony
for
charges.
Going down to Delaney. This is in Newark, going down to Delaney, people who are being caught up by ICE. She went down there to essentially.
Let's just set the story straight. Delaney Hall is a concentration camp in the outskirts of Newark. That's what it is. It's an ICE housing facility, and those are concentration camps.
Yeah, this is something that we talk about when we use we change how you have to actually explicitly define what something is.
Yes.
We use these euphemisms so that it makes us feel better.
Yeah.
And it makes us feel like it's not that,
Delaney Hall sounds kind of nice. Dilly Hall down in Texas sounds kind of funny. These are actual real life concentration camps that are operating in our cities.
and congressional oversight is absolutely necessary.
Exactly. I mean, she's facing 17 years in prison.
Yep.
This is unprecedented. This is something that this hasn't happened since I think I wrote this down, 1799. This is from what Democracy Now! Says. And I'm like, they're saying that she was doing obstruction, but to me, it didn't look like obstruction. This is something that you are like, you're very kind of well versed on.
If you look at the different angles of the videos, there is no obstruction. She was defending herself, and Raz Baraka from the Gestapo, basically. The ICE and the police that were on scene were manhandling, rough, not allowing the Congress people and the mayor to do their due diligence and see about the safety of the people who are living at the Delaney Hall concentration camp. But in my opinion, the aggressors were definitely ICE and the police that were on scene.
I'm still shocked this is happening. Like, they haven't like dismissed the case.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, this is really just unbelievable that this is happening. And I think that it's, I'm heartened by the fact that D11 in April, the election's happening. And we're hoping that, everybody in the Democratic Party essentially decides this is the candidate. Not that, I'll tell you something. Personally, this is not even for me about political party. It's about fascism and us.
Yes.
And I feel like she is the person, the champion that will be the best champion for fascism, to essentially challenge fascism.
I agree. And I think that's 100% one of the reasons why they're going after her, is because she is a Black woman who is loud. She speaks her mind in a very clear, concise, and professional way. And she makes white men scared by doing that. She's a very strong person. She's very involved in the community. I moved into her district, and she's definitely one of the more engaged Congress people that I've ever seen, and who I've ever had the privilege of living in their district.
I think what's so funny was that, not funny, but like, the thing I thought was interesting is that she started off as a councilwoman in Newark.
Yeah.
And kind of taking over Payne's spot. Payne was doing some interesting, not much. Okay, I'll be honest, Payne wasn't doing much. But I feel like she kind of took off running with that seat. And doing some really amazing things. And so we're closely watching this. And also it's very interesting how I know some people in our community in District 10, they're like, great, you should be radical and progressive, but District 11, oh, we can't have that. We can't, when I moved to District 11, they said, you can't have a person who is more progressive in that district because they can't win. Well, we see now that was not the case. This is a district that's 60% white. That this is the case. So we find now these things are not true. And now we're going to kind of make a little jump. We're going to jump to the New Jersey Transit, 50%. 50% fewer trains, and train service is going to be cut starting, I think, February 15th.
Yep, that's
tomorrow. Due to
from our recording time.
Yeah. It's apparently the Portal Bridge cutover is it's a 110-year-old bridge. It's essentially it's work that needs to be done. This is important work that needs to be done. But something I noticed is really interesting is that in District 10, District 10 is very, which is the urban district, is very dependent on the bus.
Yes.
And I know that the buses haven't really been running.
No,
during the snow.
During the snow, they had a couple of days where they were not running at all. They are still a little iffy. I've been reading a lot on the New Jersey Transit subreddit that there's still a lot of significant delays, as well as we talked about before, ice-covered bus stops, difficulty navigating to bus stops, and things like that.
No, I think it's very interesting is that District 11, a lot of those people in District 11, they depend on going to Manhattan.
Yep.
They depend on one seat service from New Jersey Transit to Midtown. Now they're going to have to go to Hoboken. And now, because District 11 is inconvenienced, this is a huge news story. Wow, 4 weeks, they're going to have to be diverted to Hoboken. They may have to take the path. That may involve going to Newark and seeing Black people.
Oh,
my
no.
God.
There's homeless people right by Penn Station in Newark.
Yeah, so, and I'm not even mocking that because look, I go to New York. I'm going to be impacted by this, but I find it very, very strange that when District 10 has been fighting over their bus service, it was viewed as, oops, we'll get to it. But now District 11, not only that, they're getting notice.
Yeah.
They're getting, the person did a program called reroutenewjersey.com. I will put that in the notes so you guys can see it. So if you don't know which way to go there, you can put that into the system, your way to New York, so you can get different ways to go to New York. But I think the thing is, people are like telling people, oh, you should work from home, you should work remotely.
I saw that.
And because it's going to be a mess. And I think it's really interesting, however, it's like, oh, they're so understanding about this. I want to know, what about the people who are riding the bus? What about the people who are riding the bus who couldn't get to work?
Yeah.
I know people right now who got fired behind that, who lost their job at Wawa owing to that snowstorm.
Well, it just goes more into that something that we talk about on auto asphyxiation is that New Jersey has a tendency to be a handmaid to both Manhattan in the north and Philadelphia in the south. And that does a disservice to the people that live and work within New Jersey. We are not a handmaid. We are a state that stands on its own. We have a lot of great features here. We have a lot of great people here, and we deserve to have continuous intra-state public transportation for people that rely on it.
Yeah, and the thing is that when we and I think one of the salient points is this, is that when we take this long, took a 110-year-old bridge. So this could have probably been taken care of under Chris Christie, if you guys remember him.
We do.
Yeah, this is something that needs to be done. So it's not like, well, we do have to do this, but we need to have understanding in regards to that situation. I think something that's very interesting is that we don't have understanding for people in Newark. We don't have understanding of people in East Orange.
No.
But we have, it's kind of like, in this system, it's kind of like, oh, you're inconveniencing us. So you need to give us some solutions, give us some relief. We need the same idea for District 10 and District 11. It shouldn't be like, oh, if you have more money and you own a house, you get priority service, you get concern, this is not fair, this is not decent. We know this. And also too, we see the repercussions of treating historically excluded and marginalized people like crap. We open the door for everyone being treated this way.
Yes, we do.
And this is something I think that, I hope that we were able to get into more in District in D10, D11. And I'm hoping that we can have deeper conversations on this, and we can have some politicians on here.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that, this is going to be like a wrap for our first show. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen and chat to us. And is there anything you'd like to say, Kimberly?
We're really excited to hyper focus on our own congressional districts and just bring a little bit more politics into what we've been talking about lately. And also, just as I said before, to hyper focus on our area right around here, that we can really dig into the nitty gritty of how everything works around here.
Yeah, because really, what did you say about New Jersey? What
New Jersey makes, the world takes.
That's right. And that talks about politics, labor, people, whatever, So with that, well, thank you for listening to our show, and please tune in next week.
Thank you so much.